Dragon Balls are the most important items in the Dragon Ball universe. I mean, who would have thought, right? They're literally, the entire show is named after them. They're the literal reset button, bringing the Earth and all of its people back to life multiple times throughout the series. They're also the item our heroes go out searching for on their very first journey that kicks off the entire series. So I thought, why not go on a deep dive into them, explain the real world origins, their origins in the series, how many different sets we are seeing, and everything else we might be able to go over. So guys, in this one, you're really going to want to go ahead and hit that notification bell as well as that like button, because I'm planning on going over all of the Dragon Ball sets individually, and then I'm going to end off this little mini series by going over the Shadow Dragons. So you're definitely not going to want to miss these next two upcoming anime videos from me. They might be a little spread out, but they're going to be worth the watch in the end, at least I think. Also, I'm trying to get to 1,400 subscribers, maybe 15 by now if we haven't hit any of that yet. We might not even have hit 13 yet, but if you guys could help me out by hitting that subscribe button, it would be greatly appreciated. So the Dragon Balls were based off of the 8 crystal beads from the Rosary of Princess Fuse from the novel Naso Satomi Hakenden. In the story, the beads are all engraved with Confucian virtue like benevolence, loyalty, and wisdom, for example. As well as whenever Princess Fuse is killed, the beads disappear into the air. Now, Toriyama didn't copy them verbatim. For instance, we have only seen a maximum of 7 Dragon Balls. There's also larger than beads, ranging from small balls that will fit between your fingers, all the way to the size of small moons. Also, the majority of them have stars embedded either on or sometimes within them instead of the virtues. And clearly there's one less Dragon Ball than the beads. So now that's where the idea came from in the real world, but now let's get into the lore within the series. Starting with how the Dragon Balls are created, and the easy answer there is we actually don't know. We have actually never seen a Dragon Ball be created within the series. We do know that it takes about 100 days to create a new set of Dragon Balls, and that this can be circumvented if there was a set of Dragon Balls whose creator had died. And I'll explain that a little bit in a minute, but we also know that they're tied to a carved statue of a dragon, which can be used to modify the balls once they're existing. We can infer that magic plays a huge role in their creation. I mean, they're literal magic balls, but we actually don't know the exact process. Another thing we do know though is that not just anyone can create Dragon Balls. See, we find out from the Elder Kai that they actually allowed the Nameks to create them because they were a spiritual species, and they were actually only ever supposed to make one set on their home planet. We actually only see Namekians creating Dragon Balls during the series, with these Super Dragon Balls being the one exception since we don't actually know who created them, but we are pretty sure that the Nameks found the Super Dragon Balls and they kind of back engineered their Dragon Balls from the Super Dragon Balls. But once you've created them, now you have Dragon Balls. How do you use them and what exactly do they do? Well, in order to use them, you have to bring all of the balls in the set together, which was a lot harder than it sounds since they're typically scattered across whatever planet they're on. But let's just say that you do manage to get them together, and we don't actually know what distance qualifies as together, but it's sort of implied they need to be within a couple of feet of each other. Once you have done that, you can summon the dragon. Now, the methods of how you summon the dragon can change. Sometimes you just need to ask them to come out, others you need an actual password. It kind of depends on the set, but now the dragon is out. They will tell you the number of wishes they are able to grant, and so far we've seen anywhere from 1 to 3, and if it is within the dragon's power, he will grant your wish. And surprisingly, there is not an actual catch here. For instance, if you were to ask for the ability to become invisible, the wish wouldn't make you invisible all of the time. You would simply gain the ability to become invisible. The dragon will also let you know if there is going to be a problem with the wish. Like for instance, when Frieza was brought back to life, the dragon told everyone that he would be brought back the way he died, which as it turns out was in pieces since Trunks cut him to pieces. Now, this could actually have just been to dissuade Sorbet from bringing Frieza back, since the dragons have some level of knowledge about the universe, even though there could be years in between them actually being summoned. For instance, Shenron knew who Beerus was and was even actually afraid of him, even though he had never met him. They can also have a flair for the dramatic, with Purunga teleporting Dende away at the last moment from Frieza, essentially just to rub it in his face. And if the dragon is in a really giving mood, he can actually upgrade your wish, like when Piccolo wished for his potential to be unlocked. The dragon actually gave him a new upgraded form, as well as unlocking his potential. But finally, after the wish has been granted, the dragon will disappear. The Dragon Balls will return to stone and then be dispersed across the planet, universe, or even multiple universes, depending on which ones you're using. where they will remain as stone for a period of 1 year, with the only exception to this being the Black Star Dragon Balls. They actually don't turn to stone whenever they disperse across the universe, they just disperse as Dragon Balls. Now the 1 year timeline though, only is if you've used all of your wishes, because if you didn't use all of your wishes, in this case it'll only take about 4 months for them to return to normal. So let's say you have 3, you only use 1, 4 months later your Dragon Balls will be kind of back to being active again. Or if you know how, you can use magic to essentially skip the rest period like Neva and Kami do to the Earth's Dragon Balls, essentially shortening the time frame from when they can be used from, I think in one case, it was less than a week. But now that's the entire process, start to finish, and it sounds like a pretty great deal. And yeah, honestly, it kind of is. You work your butt off and you will be rewarded. But like all things, the Dragon Balls aren't perfect, and they do have some weaknesses, and there could be some, let's just say, negative side effects from using them, depending on what universe you're in. So to start with, the dragon will grant any wish to anyone. It doesn't matter if you're good or evil, or how strange the wish is. For instance, the first wish we see in the series is for underwear, and Bulma is basically using them to keep herself younger, almost like plastic surgery, and I don't really know why she's never just wished to be young forever, or at least to look young forever. Or maybe just to age the way her husband does. I really don't get why she's just using it to pump herself up a little bit. Also, the dragon itself is not invincible and can be destroyed when summoned, and this will be permanent, with the Dragon Balls returning to their stone state, unless their creator decides to remake them. That's kind of the only way they could not be permanently once the dragon is destroyed. Now, while they're in their stone state is also when the balls themselves are at their most vulnerable, since in this state it actually might be possible to break them, since they are actually just regular stone. Speaking of their creator, killing them will also cause the Dragon Balls to lose their power and return to stone. This also applies if the model of the dragon that the dragon is based off of, that the Dragon Balls are connected to, is broken. If you break that statue, the dragon and the Dragon Balls will no longer exist. Speaking of that though, you can actually use the statue to upgrade your dragon, and the reason that might be necessary is because the dragon will also have varying levels of power based on the one who created them. For example, they can't kill someone that their creator couldn't kill, and they can't do things that their creator wouldn't be able to do, which I don't know why it actually like involves bringing people back to life, because Kami can't do that. Or maybe Kami was supposed to be able to do that and they just never showed him doing that. Maybe that's like he does that through the Dragon Balls. I don't know, it's kind of inconsistent with that one. But for instance, like since Dende isn't strong enough to awaken Piccolo's full power, he had to update the dragon in order to let the dragon do it. Like I said, at least this is what the rule is said to be, and as I just stated, we have seen the dragon do things that the creators technically have never been shown to be able to do. And I already gave the example of bringing people back to life, but also recreating a planet is another example. I don't think Dende can bring the Earth back to life, but his dragon can. And now we are given a workaround in Super, right? When Granola gives up his life force to become the strongest person in the universe, shortening his lifespan to give the dragon more power to grant the wish. But we never see anyone else do that, so my guess is that there is a difference between things like that, since they require magic as opposed to power like some of the more physical wishes. But that's just kind of my best guess, because that explains why, hey, a dragon can bring a planet back, but he can't make you the strongest person in the universe unless you sacrifice your life. Also, that might have just been like the only workaround they could give our heroes to actually beat Granola and eventually Gas, because once you've wished to be the strongest person in the universe, you can't really beat him. The final drawback sort of only exists depending on the canon you're following. See, we find out in GT that overuse of the Dragon Balls will cause them to build up too much negative energy. When this happens, they will break, and then when you try and summon the dragon, they will release an evil Shenron and then let loose shadow dragons to wreak havoc on the Earth. We found out from Elder Kai that this is because they were only ever intended to be used once every 100 years in order to dissipate the energy, and that others were actually aware that this could be a problem, but since they were so hard to find, it generally wasn't an issue. That is until Bulma created the Dragon Radar, thus enabling the Dragon Balls to be found more regularly and become kind of overused. Also, it's implied that Dende knew about this, but really had no choice since the Earth was in such bad shape, being destroyed multiple times. The last thing I want to talk about is that the balls themselves do have power not tied to the dragon. They could keep an entire planet together like the Namekian Dragon Balls did on New Namek during the Moro arc. they will follow their creator if he moves to a different planet, so they can actually just fly through space following their creator. Also, a non-canon ability they have is possibly granting a wish without summoning the dragon. But we only ever see this happening during the Brolin Second Coming movie, when Oten makes his wish that he wishes his dad was here. The dragon doesn't get summoned, but it's kind of implied that his wish was granted. So I don't know, it's a movie, definitely not canon, but that's my only explanation that I could come up with for that one. But I believe that's it, and let me know if I missed anything about the Dragon Balls, or if there's anything that you guys would like me to go on a deeper dive on. If possible, I would love to do that. Let me know all that in the comments down below. While you're down there, please remember to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and hit that like button so you never miss another video from me. And I will see you guys in the next video.